Hey, what is up guys? So I'm here to talk about the new patch 1.5 that just came out today, and this is a huge patch. So many things have changed. But anyways, let me go ahead and go over all of the patch notes that we're going to be covering in here are mostly going to be related to competitive, and I'll give you guys my thoughts on it, because a lot of you guys ask me every time there's a new patch, what do I think of the changes? Do I think they're good, bad, whatever? Sombra also came out, but I'm here to focus on the patch notes, basically what has changed. Coming from more of a competitive standpoint, if you guys are wondering what my seasonal rating highest is, it's 3404, so I'm really close to Masters. Hopefully I'll hit it this season. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump right into the patch notes, and I'll give you guys, I guess, some gameplay, so to speak, of all the stuff that has changed. So first off, on Anna, her nano boost, which is her ultimate, no longer increases movement speed. So no Beyblade Reapers going super fast, or the Reinhardt swinging his hammer hitting you from 50 miles away. So no more of that, or I guess less of that, because Reinhardt's hammer still hits you from miles away. But nonetheless, that is a nerf technically to Anna. And also, there is a 20% increased time on building your ultimate. So, technically it takes longer is what I'm saying. You could look at it as a decreased or increased, but basically, to build your ult, it's 20% harder to build your ult. Let's just put it that way. So, it's not going to build as fast. So, as far as the changes on Anna goes, that's fine. Like, I didn't really like dealing with Anna comps anyways, which was pretty much what was seen in the meta. Like, you boost a Reaper, or if you boost a Reinhardt, it's so hard to deal with. And now when you have a Lucio on your team, you can just speed boost away, and you won't have to really worry about that. But we're going to be going through this list from A to Z. But anyways, I think that Anna changes are great. Like, I'm actually glad that they changed that, because I want to see less of Anna, personally, because I think she's just way too strong in the game right now, compared to the other healers. Like, when do we see Mercy seeing you play, this day and age? But nonetheless, next up we have D.Va. So D.Va actually got an additional 100 health. That's actually a huge deal. Although when she becomes, D.Va outside of the mech, she doesn't have like an additional 100. It's just when she's in the mech form. But in addition to having additional health, she also moves faster while she is shooting. That has been increased by 25%. So that's pretty good. Definitely a buff to D.Va. In addition to that, since everyone's ult takes 20% longer to build, when D.Va is outside of the mech, she actually doesn't have that nerf, so to speak. But so she can build her mech a lot faster than I guess other heroes, in a way where you would have that 20% nerf. So basically, when she's building her mech, there's not a nerf there. But when she's getting the explosion of the mech, that still takes 20% longer. So that still technically is nerf, but that's a border nerf, so it covers everyone in the game. But anyways, that's it for D.Va. The next one is from Lucio. It's a pretty simple one. His amp it up on the healing actually is decreased by 10%. So that's all we need to cover with that. If you guys want to read any of the developer notes, I'll leave it down below. But nonetheless, that's like really simple. I think that's really fine. I mean, he has one of the best healings in the game. When you combo with an Anna grenade, it's still really good anyways. Like, if a Saria sucks you in and Anna instantly is able to get that grenade on the team, then Lucio amps it up. Like, it's almost like a Zenyatta ult in a sense, but it did get nerfed a little bit. Now, Mei actually took a nerf as well, so her ultimate takes 15% longer, in addition to the already lengthy time it takes to build. Now that, of course, it takes it's 20% harder to build ultimates, so yeah, hers is even more difficult to build, but that's fine with me, because I really don't like the stall that Mei incorporates into the game. If I was Blizzard, I also would make her cooldowns like 1 second longer on both of her like wall and her freeze, but that's just my opinion on Mei. I've never liked Mei, because I feel like if you're actually landing your shots, why not just play McCree? And she's just a stall fiesta. I really hate playing against Meis. But that's because I like to play heroes that kill, and she doesn't let you do it because she freezes and she makes those walls. But anyways, the next thing up is a buff to Mercy. So Mei just only took a nerf. Mercy actually got a small buff. I can show you the buff over here. So when you are in front, let me go ahead and take some damage. So I'm going to actually regenerate health much faster now. So that actually increases Mercy's survivability. I mentioned before that, like, Mercy not seeing any play, but nonetheless, I don't really mind playing against Mercies, because if I'm playing something like Genji, I can just go on her and just, kill her really fast, and then the team doesn't have a healer. But Now, sometimes when you're fighting people 1v1, if they don't kill you fast enough as Mercy, while they're reloading, you're going to start regenerating health. So it allows Mercy to be better in 1v1 scenarios because she has that regeneration. So the passive that she has regenerates health, and as long as you don't take damage for 1 second, you'll start regenerating health. It used to be 3 seconds, so that is a buff to Mercy. The next person that we're going to be talking about is Pharah, and Pharah actually got a pretty big buff in here. Although I don't think it's really that meta, because if you have a good McCree on your team, then Pharah's irrelevant. But she can boost herself up much faster, and her lift is increased by 35%. So Pharah's not only going to be more mobile, but she also will be able to get up to areas that you normally wouldn't be able to get to, because she normally just wouldn't have the ability to get that high, because her jets don't push her up as fast before. But now it's increased, so she'll definitely be better, but how good is she actually going to be in the game? I don't know. Now, the next thing is a buff and a nerf, technically. I think it's overall just a buff. But when she shoots her rocket, she used to push people. But that has actually changed. It says on the patch notes, the minimum explosion knockback has been decreased to 0%. And also the minimum explosion damage has been increased to 13%. So the AoE is going to be bigger. And on top of that, the knockback is going to be decreased on that. So if you hit someone directly, let's say like this over here, you'll see that it changed. It's very minor. Some Pharahs are able to actually, it could be a buff or nerf depending on the way you look at it, but overall in competitive, I would say you don't see that many Pharahs as you would see other heroes in the game. And that's simply due to McCree just being so strong. But if there's no like McCree, or I guess no Soldier actually got a huge buff, but we'll get into that next. But so overall, Pharah, I would say it's more of a buff than a nerf, but some people can technically argue that it is a nerf. But the next one we talk about is Soldier, and again, this is why Pharah is going to be not seeing as much play. At least that's how I look at it, because Soldier actually got a pretty big buff. So his base damage is actually going to be 20 instead of 17, and that's obviously going to be multiplied on the headshot, so you'll do 40 damage in the head. And also the bullet spread has actually changed, so you can actually melt people much faster, and you won't have to actually burst as hard as you normally would. Because some people did technically do that against other things. So you can see the bullet spread is just, it's so great now. If you really want to go for those headshots at longer distances, it's really good. So basically Soldier is going to be much, much better in this patch. Now the next one up is, oh, my favorite, my man Torbjorn. I still play this guy, even when I was playing against Masters and, you know, top 200 like people. When I would play Torb, sometimes people would complain, but now you can see his scrap, it just starts regenerating. And that is absolutely huge, because picking up scrap sometimes as Torb, like when something is super far away, you get yourself killed, but if you don't get the scrap, then you're not being as effective. So you now just generate scrap, and that's a really big deal. In addition to that, he builds his turret a little bit faster now, because his hammer, his swing speed has actually increased. So you guys can see the increase over here. But yeah, being able to just get armor, absolutely great, because sometimes you wouldn't be able to get the scrap, whether it's a unit that falls off or things like that. So that's just definitely really good. Now he also got a nerf to his swing damage on the hammer. It's pretty much irrelevant for the most part, but there are times where if you swap to hammer melee, you'll get a kill instead of just meleeing, because the swing with the hammer that you normally would use to build your turret does actually still do more damage, but it's really, really minor. No one really used it. I mean, occasionally I did use it myself, but it's very minor. Like, that's not really like a big enough nerf. He actually got buffed a ton. And so the scrap amount that you actually collect off of an enemy, because it still does drop, but it's been decreased by 40%. But anyways, the next person that we're going to be talking about comes from Widowmaker, and her Venom Mine no longer deals damage to herself. So if I would, okay. Normally I would take damage, so this is really good. So sometimes as Widow, sometimes I would be sniping, and if I put my mine in certain spots, if a Genji comes up, you know, and hits it, sometimes I'll be strafing, like I'll put it on the ledge, but sometimes I'll have to strafe because like Pharah's hitting me, like on Temple of Anubis on the top area. I'll put a mine on the back, so I'll know. But sometimes if I put it in an area that's too close to me, if I'm like moving and a Genji happens to step on it, or someone steps on it and I'm too close to it, I'll take the damage. So that's definitely a buff. And also, in addition to that, the charge rate of Widow's Kiss has been increased, which, let's see, I think it's F1 to, F1 just doesn't do anything. It used to give you tooltips, but nonetheless, Widow's Kiss, the charge rate has been increased. That increases your ability to do jump shots a lot more, if I could land a shot, right? But nonetheless, it's been increased. So what that allows you to do, and this is pretty big for anyone that jumps and then shoots, because you can't scope in and jump. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to jump, scope in, and then take the shot. So it's definitely good for Widow, definitely a buff indeed to her. So I don't know if we'll see any more Widow plays from that. But in addition to that, Saria has also actually taken a nerf in this patch, and I think the Widow stuff is pretty good, but I want that scope in animation more than anything. Also, if you can give her, 150 damage, that would also be really great. Please, Blizzard. But anyways, particle barrier. So when you put the barriers on people, normally you'd be able to get up to 50% charge if they just did enough damage. So it would equal up to 100 if they destroyed your shield and the shield that you put on someone else. So that would be something that would give you 100% charge, which would increase her damage effectively. But they have actually changed it so you can only go up to 40%. I don't think that I'll be able to... We'll see if we can give this robot the charge over here. I don't think we'll be able to get up to... Oh, they didn't even attack it. But nonetheless, her charge up as far as how much damage she's building will be decreased. So she technically got nerfed. In two ways, because not only did she get her charge up decreased, and also on the PTR they also made it so her charge would descend faster. So if going from like 100 to 0 would happen much faster if you weren't actually, of course, building your charge. But nonetheless, she also took a bigger nerf in this aspect because everyone's ult builds slower. Zaria's ult is probably one of the ults that takes a really long time to build for most people, so it's even slower. So Saria took a pretty big nerf on this. There's also another change to Symmetry. This wasn't mentioned in the patch notes, I believe. Yeah, I'm looking at the patch notes like right in front of me, just so I double check and I don't miss out on anything. I'll link the patch notes down below, but it seems like Symmetra's orbs shoot much faster. I'll charge her up an orb, and you can see how fast they travel. They travel much faster, it seems. So that's definitely a small little buff to Symmetra. In addition to that, Torbjorn's turret and Symmetra's teleporter no longer build your ult while you're shooting them. So Torbjorn in the very beginning of the game can put a turret in the most dingus spot, and it doesn't matter how many times they shoot it, they don't build ult. So basically you get about 20%, no, well, it used to be about 20%, but since everyone's ult has been changed, you'll build about 15% of your ult on Tor before the match even starts, without having to risk really anything, because you can put it right in front of their door essentially, and just start building ult charge, and you won't hurt the team in any way. So that's another buff technically to Torb. There's also bugs that you were able to contest certain areas, but most of you guys probably don't really. That shouldn't really affect you too much because they're like glitches anyways, and again, these are bugs. There's also a glitch with Junkrat that you could do previously that got nerfed, which was a tire glitch. It's irrelevant anymore, but you used to be able to like go in the air with your tire, and you would be able to essentially glitch the rip tire, but that has also been changed. There's a bunch of bug fixes. I don't really want to go over bug fixes because those weren't like intentional in the game in the first place, but those are my thoughts on the patch notes. As far as Sombra goes, I think that, well, she hasn't been changed as far as I know. They didn't mention anything in the patch notes. But I definitely feel like, as far as heroes that got buffed or nerfed technically, like indirectly, McCree's actually going to still be like really strong. I wish they somehow nerfed him because I feel like he's good at long range and short range. But this buff on Pharah, what she needs is an air dash to be really viable in the meta. Because again, when you buff Soldier, that's just going to make Pharah see less play, and Pharah already sees a lot less play because McCree just completely wrecks her for the most part. Unless the McCree sucks, and at that point, well then, oh well, thanks game for putting me back in the lobby. But okay, anyways. So we just talked about Soldier, but as far as Roadhog, they said that they were going to change his hook, but they never mentioned it in the patch notes. Hopefully they'll adjust his hook. It's probably really hard to program, but nonetheless, Roadhog hasn't really changed in quite some time. I really feel like his hook needs to be adjusted, but again, it's probably just something that's difficult. Widowmaker definitely did see a buff, but I don't think that will make her see more play. I think May will see a little bit less play. Because of this change. I definitely see a lot more people playing Soldier from this patch note, but overall I think the patch notes are pretty good. A lot of the changes I do agree with. Specifically, I want Roadhog's to be changed. This hook is just, it's dumb, and they understand that it's dumb. Like, it doesn't work properly a lot of the time. I'm waiting to see what they do with Symmetry. I want them to rework her completely, and unfortunately it's not out yet, but they do mention a lot of different posts that they wanted to change Symmetry. But I think overall the patch notes are pretty good. Which Widowmaker got a bigger buff, but hey, you know what? I'll take a small buff. You know, it's two buffs, like she charges faster, and on top of that, the mine no longer deals damage. But I'll definitely be playing a lot more Torb, because Torb is, in my personal opinion, a Hanamura. Like, he's really, really strong already. But hopefully I'll get Masters relatively soon, and I'll get more gameplay for you guys of all the other like buffs and nerfs and stuff like that. We'll see how it goes in action, because I honestly feel like Soldier, he's still relatively strong, but if you go against a good player, like a McCree will always be better than Soldier. That's just a fact. Like, Soldier's ult is still really mediocre in my personal opinion, because he doesn't kill fast enough, therefore people will have time to react, whereas McCree's, like, his ult is just much better, because it forces people off certain points. I guess you could argue the same thing with Soldier, but it takes so damn long for that to happen. Someone's gonna go ahead and throw up a wall, or they can just, you know, snipe him. McCree could probably two-shot, like, one headshot and then, like, hit him in the body, and, like, what good is Soldier's ult when McCree can still dumpster on him with a basic attack? I don't know. That's the way I see it, but nonetheless, Soldier did get a buff. But it's just going to shut down Pharah even harder, even with the buffs. But you guys can let me know how you feel about the patch notes. Do you guys think they were good? Do you think they were bad? Who do you think should have been nerfed or buffed? But Blizzard, please buff Widow, because I want her to be much better. And let's just get that. Let's get that emote. Again, that's my favorite emote. But those are my thoughts on the patch notes. But thanks for watching, guys. And I'm signing out.